Okay, well, welcome everybody. Um, my name is Chris Green, and I teach in the English department at DePaul University, and I'm the editor of DePaul's Blue Book, Best of Illinois High School Writing 2020. This is our second annual tribute to the state's best young creative writers. We literally canvassed hundreds and hundreds of high schools across the state and ended up picking just the 36 pieces that are featured in the volume this year. The categories in the anthology are short fiction, nonfiction, and poetry. And because 2020 obviously was such a challenging year, we also have a section called Quarantine Reflections. So if you haven't seen the book yet, simply go to depaulsbluebook.com. It's listed there next to last year's edition. There's also links to various aspects of DePaul if you're interested in possibly attending DePaul University and checking out the English department. Before we get started officially, I would like to thank a number of folks. First and foremost, I'd love to thank Anna Gerwig, who's the volume's managing editor. She was key in getting everything up on the website and in producing tonight's launch. I'd also like to thank Avery Farron and Ren Lively for their assistance last year in getting things started. I'd also like to thank a number of our graduate students in the Master's in Writing and Publishing program. So the process is that my fall graduate editing class really culled through most of the submissions, and they were the ones that ended up picking the final pieces. So those folks were Bailey Burke, Maya Burris, Caitlin Costello, Franco Aureli Diaz, Zoe Etel, Mia Goulart, Matthew Kilbane, Tori Levine, John Miller, Eliza Ravello, Sabrina Sos, Ava Tews, and Abby Volkokas. So just a quick preview of what's going to happen tonight. In just a minute, I'm going to ask Michelle Morano, who's the chair of our department, to say a few words. Then I'm going to introduce the readers one at a time. We have 6 readers tonight. We'll start off with Mara Abdullah, then Safa Abdullah, Mohammed An, Maya Jursic, Jonathan Houston, and then Rachel Kozicki. And then we'll just have a short Q&A session where you can either ask a question, we can unmute you, or you could type in your question and I'll ask the writers. So that's what's in store. So next I would like to ask Michelle Morano, again, who's the chair of the English department, if she wouldn't mind just talking a little bit about our department, especially our Publishing Institute in the English department.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks so much for coming and joining us for this event, to all the attendees and to Chris and all the students who worked so hard on this wonderful anthology. And thank you especially to the readers for both sharing your work in the anthology and for coming here this evening to share it with everyone aloud. So yes, we have an English department that is large and varied and contains multitudes. We are very big on creative writing and publishing, literature and publishing in this department. And we do have a DePaul Publishing Institute, which involves 3 literary journals, one of which is entirely student run. Undergraduates and graduates work on Crook Folly. We also have a national poetry journal, Poetry East, which is edited by Professor Richard Jones, and a national nonfiction journal, Slag Glass City, which is edited by Professor Barry Jean Borich. And then we have Big Shoulders Books, which is a really wonderful, Chris is one of the founding editors of that. And it's a really wonderful book press that produces volumes of socially conscious literature by and about Chicagoans whose voices might not otherwise be amplified. And the great thing about Big Shoulders Books is that we give the books away for free. And so if you're interested, you should look at bigshouldersbooks.com, where you can see all of our volumes. I have some of them right here now. They're incredibly beautiful books, as you can see, very high quality. And so if you would like some copies of them, you can just go to the website and tell us who you are and why you need them, and we'll be happy to send them out as soon as possible. So it's always really exciting to see this publishing, and the publishing courses enable students to get involved in the production of these books, the production of the DePaul Blue Book, and of the literary journals. So it's always really exciting when all of these elements come together. And so I just want to say congratulations to everyone who was selected. It's a kind of a big deal because there were a lot of entries. And congratulations to Chris on such a wonderful culmination of this process.
Thanks so much, Michelle. I really appreciate that. And again, really, DePaul's English department is really unique. It's real. I can't think of another department where the students get to write and work, not just showcase their writing, but actually get involved in the publishing process in the way that they do at DePaul. So please check out our various journals and especially Big Shoulders books, since that's one of my pets. Okay. All right, let's get started with our readers tonight. Our first reader is Marwa Abdullah, and she's a junior at CICS Northtown Academy. And Jim Kleiss, who's a great writer, by the way, is her club advisor, and he sent me Marwa's work. She's going to read her poem called A Story Carved in the Wall.
Okay, this is my poem. Yeah, I'm gonna start now. I am made from mud, dirt, and clay, carved with imperfections and future tests. I'm the child of Adam and Eve, but my mother and father are Aisha and Kareem. My ancestors and predecessors before me did not fight for who I am now, but my ancestors and predecessors of who I am now fought for me. Nuh, Lut, Saleh, Ad, Musa, Ibrahim, Ismail, Yunus, Yusuf, Muhammad. They stared mistreatment and oppression in the eyes and said, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. And their message was passed on in a scrambled version of telephones. Translations were misinterpreted, people strayed, but everyone knows that at the end of telephone, you learn the phrase. And that's what happened. I am wrapped in the embrace of their teachings, words that hold meaning, filling my empty heart and watering my eyes. I wrap fabric around my head, not because I am oppressed, but to protect me, the cloth muffling the evil that wants to reach my ears. I fast not because I'm looking to trim off a few pounds, but so I may abstain from wrong and understand that my sufferings are not like others, because at least I have food on the table. Do not say that I am being shackled down, poisoned, brainwashed. Do not say that I am boring and uptight for believing. Do not even say it's okay to do just one wrong thing no one will know. Wrong, because I will feel how I have betrayed myself and my beliefs. The guilt will sink and embed itself into my skin until it burns. I do not want to burn. I am made of mud, dirt, and clay. I am made of beliefs in a language. That's why when I read it, my heart swells with pride. I am the child of Adam and Eve, but my mother and father are Aisha and Kareem. I come from a line of telephone in which the original phrase was trapped in a tangle of coiled wire, but then set back on course. Muslim. The walls whisper our stories, our culture, our language. The windows don't discriminate. They allow all to access and open their paned glass. The stairs take our footprints and match them to a face. Colors are the most beloved because no one prefers gray. We go to a school where navigating the hallways is crossing continents, and one conversation reveals memories, and words are warm embraces. We are north of the world, but culture is what we know best. Thank you.
Thank you, Marwa. Wow, that was beautiful. Really, truly. Great job. So our next reader is Marwa's twin sister, Safa, who was in last year's Blue Book. And she was also in Big Shoulders Books' most recent publication, American Gun, a poem by 100 Chicagoans. So Safa is famous on this Zoom call, I have to say. And we did not know that Marwa and Safa were related when we were picking the pieces this year. So it's kind of an amazing sort of a little writerly miracle that they're both here. So I'm really happy about that. So again, Safa Abdullah, she is a junior at CICS Northtown Academy. Again, the amazing Jim Kleiss is who put her work forward. She'll be reading 2 poems tonight. The first is called My Love for You is Infectious. We share the same skin. And her second poem is called Chordata, Animals with Backbones. Here's Safa.
Thank you. First, this is My Love for You is Infectious. We share the same skin. Sky, ground. We are the in-between, trapped in motion, in house, in car, in time, frozen yet running. The earth keeps spinning. The water keeps flowing. We are so distant, and yet we have never been closer. Your hands are my hands are yours. Pray that these 6 feet aren't code for our deathbeds. Let there be an us rather than an I. Tell me I'm not so alone after all. After all, this is over. Is there an over? We have never been closer. My skin is your skin, your sins are mine. I wish that we didn't all have to pay the consequences of another. Close your eyes. Is there an out? I'm not sure this is real. It can't be nightmare material. The stars keep shining. We have never been closer. Your eyes are my eyes are yours. Sky, ground, in between. We are a rare occurrence. Panes of glass, a window to another, visible and separate. I want you to tell yourself it is okay to be alone. Heartbeats pounding, panic in the night. The birds keep singing. We have never been closer. We have never been closer, and yet we are so far apart. My fears are your fears are mine. There is a breath of fresh air in each other. There is a relief and kindness. My heart is your heart, and your heart is mine. We are the in-between. We have never been closer. That was the first poem. And now the second one, it's called Chordata, Animals with Backbones. The sky is not yet awake, but the birds are. They sing to each other from blankets of foliage, reaching out with their melodic chirps. It is too dark to see, and yet they find each other. Newly born leaves rustle from their elm branches, stirring with the movement of the wind. The birds sing to each other, but their song doesn't go unheard from the rest of the world. Their notes carry. And the notes reach the trunk of the trees, winding down to the very core of the collection of rings. And the notes reach a hollow space between steel and glass, reverberating and becoming more complex than they were before. And the notes reach the ears of a teenager settled in 4 a.m. skin, who is too familiar with the feeling of being one of the only things awake. And the notes reach, and the notes reach. The birds are so used to this isolation, the quietness of what it feels to be like the only source of life. So they do not fear humming out into the void. They do not fear making their presence known to the world around them. They do not fear company, which is why they sing to the birds around them, which is why they let their song reach out, which is why they remain awake throughout the day, which is why the song continues. In the sky, it will awaken, in the cars, they will start up, in the people, they will speak, in the teenager dressed in the flesh of 4 a.m., they will hold the not so secret song of the birds close to their chest, and it will become their song. Silently hummed at first, a loop on the brain, before it morphs and articulates itself into words and phrases and sentences and verses. It is not a crime to be known. The notes they carry. The song must go on. That's it. Yeah.
Right. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Safa. I wish we could be in a ballroom so that we could get the full experience, because I know you're such a powerful reader. So thank you again. That was wonderful. Okay. Our next reader is Muhammad An, and he graduated from Stephen Mather High School last year. That's when we found his work, was like spring of 2020, but now he's graduated and he's actually a freshman at DePaul, and he is majoring in mathematics and computer science. The teacher that put his work forward was Aaron Belmont. And Mohammed is going to read his poem titled ADHD.
ADHD. My head in my hands, I can't focus. These voices in my head going crazy. It's my diagnosis. I'm shaking with the want to run. And I still can't get study, still can't get glory. Mama, I'm sorry. They think I'm stupid, think I'm crazy. I'm gonna just ignore them and focus. Oh wait, I can't. Get away from me. If I were you, I would watch what I say to me. Cause I'm crazy. Guess this is how it's supposed to be. But you can't blame me, it's just my ADHD. I've been told to quit, that I'm never gonna make it. Sometimes it feels like that's true and that I'm a nobody. I just wanna grow up and hit the lottery. I still can't study, still can't get glory. Mom, I'm sorry. Rejection's all around me. I'm gonna find a way to get in. Show them my worth, show them my capability, and make them pay. Make them wanna meet me. Just watch, you're gonna be on my phone and I'm gonna be on red. I only F with the people who F with me. They're the people who believe in me. They're gonna be the people who get my attention. If any of it's left, F it. I'm gonna be so rich I can buy it. So for right now, keep telling me to give up. I'm gonna keep ignoring you, and you'll see me on TV. Jealous wishing you were me, but you can't. Guess you gotta go through the trouble to make it. But what the rest do I know? I have ADHD.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mohammed. Great job. All right. Our next reader is Maya Jursic. We also found her work late spring of 2020, and she graduated from Lyons Township High School. And now she's a freshman at Purdue University, and she's majoring in engineering. The teacher that put her work forward was Nicole Lombardi, and Maya is going to read her short story, Wanders In.
Hi, thanks everyone for coming. A motel sits off Highway 28 in New Mexico, only ever found by those who wander. It has no address, shows up on no satellite, and its only visitors are the people that find it entirely on accident. The closest thing it has to any sort of identification is a worn, sun-bleached sign that swings in still desert air and only barely reads the name of the motel anymore. The desert is brutal and unforgiving to drifters on its best days. The Wanderers Inn makes it less so. Normally, customers are young adults, floating through the Sonoran to find their place in the world. They stay for a night, maybe two, and steal some water bottles and keep moving. Kalia, the woman who runs the inn, understands their desire to drift and to leave. She knows how it pulls you, heart first, from place to place in search of something you don't think you'll ever find. It's not a feeling she misses, but one she understands, one she recognizes. Newer drifters tend to stay the longest, up to a week if they're really green. The more experienced ones usually don't stay the night. She isn't sad when they leave, but not happy either. They'll either find their way or they won't. She misses the company all the same. Sometimes there will be a family that needs a room, usually led by a stubborn driver that got them very, very lost on their way to the Grand Canyon. They stay for a night and go on their way, entirely unaware of the space they stumbled into. Kalia lets them, mostly so she can see the looks on their faces when she tells them there's no included breakfast, and that the closest restaurant is an hour and a half's drive in the wrong direction. An unwritten rule of drifting is that any food and any place that keeps you a night is considered included breakfast. But traveling families don't know that, and she's so very starved for entertainment. She thinks back to those families during the endless stretches of time when she wonders if she'll ever see another person again. It keeps her sane. The third type of floater is rare, a once-a-generation type if the inn is lucky. Nobody that's run the motel has ever seen one twice. This is a real nice place, real homey. They extend a hand over the counter, smile bright. I'm Fleet, by the way. Well, Florencia, but don't ever call me that. They're the ones that, despite their nature to wander and roam. Kalia smiled. She heard those words once, coming from her own tongue when her name was wrong and she was still running from something. Eric told her, a long time ago, when she first started, that she would know when her Type 3 came. He was right. They're the ones that stay.
All right. Thank you so much, Maya. That was wonderful. Really appreciate it. Okay, our next reader is Jonathan Houston, and he graduated in 2020 from Palatine High School, and he's actually currently at work on a novel. The teachers that put Jonathan's work forward are Rachel Bartlett and Liz Bromelsik, and Jonathan will be reading his poem titled Believe.
Just wait on me. It's been a long day for me. Stay a while. I really need your company. Your love is enough for me. I feel like we were supposed to meet. If you looked at me, to me, what would you find? Because lately I feel like I lost my mind. I feel like life is a lie. The world's coming to the end and I see all the signs. Believe in me. When you start to feel fear, run to me. I know you might be scared, but have trust in me. Finding someone real that's rare to me. I don't know what to do. There's so much going on, I can't watch the news. I never gave up. I will never lose. A man should never have an excuse. Never hang with the opposition. That's so Raven, I swear that I have a vision. You ever been in a setting with so much tension? I'm trying to cook up in the kitchen. Just wait on me. It's been a long day for me. Stay a while. I really need your company. Your love is enough for me. I feel like we were supposed to meet. If you looked at me, tell me what would you find? Because lately I feel like I lost my mind. I feel like life is a lie. The world's coming to the end and I see all the signs. Believe in me. When you start to feel fear, run to me. I know you might be scared, but have trust in me. Finding someone real that's rare to me. I've been tripping, I've been flipping, crying so many tears. I don't play no games, so try me if you dare. Slide open me, I'm always prepared. I'm so different from the others you cannot compare. Believe in me. When you start to feel fear, run to me. I know you might be scared, but have trust in me. Finding someone real that's rare to me.
Beautiful, very powerful. Thanks so much, Jonathan. Really appreciate it. Okay, well, our last reader tonight is Rachel Kozicki, and she's a sophomore at Allen B. Shepherd High School. The teacher that put Rachel's work forward is Nikia Woods, and Rachel will be reading her story called The Runaway.
That family dinner, as they traditionally called it, realistically was the last thing I needed to set my plan into action. It wasn't the dinner that made me want to run away, so to speak. It was the events that happened that night that caused me to feel this way. A way I had been enduring for a long time, but had to keep bottled up so tight that it was a volcanic eruption. We wouldn't want to ruin our family's established reputation, now would we? It started when Dad came home smelling like another woman. Again. He walked through the door that night, put his coat on the closet, and walked into the dining room where we were all sitting eating dinner, my mom, my brother, and I. "You're late," my mother said in a lazy, slurred tone, without picking her head up to look at him. "I am," he stated in a flat tone, while sitting down beside me. Even I could smell her on him. She thinks nobody saw it, but when Mom slid the flask out from the holster attached to her thigh, I saw every movement. Mom was too drunk, and Dad couldn't have cared less to notice, but Daniel, my brother, was making a profit off of his buddies by selling oregano to them. He grew it in the basement, and no one ever noticed. If I spoke about it to anyone, our distinguished pedigree would be exposed for the sham it really is. Whenever people tell me that I'm lucky to have been born into a family as rich and powerful as mine, I cross my fingers and hope no one can see what goes down when we are away from prying eyes. If you were to look on the walls of our lavish house, you would be able to see the fake smiles of 4 people lying to themselves. That dinner, though, everyone had somehow agreed to stop lying and putting up a facade. It was a very unconventional agreement, seeing as we never even spoke about it, but I guess Mom's drinking had also come with a bit of courage. "You know, kids, I didn't even want to marry your father, but your grandmother wanted me to marry into money," Mom stood up and shouted, wobbling a little with each word. Dad just sat there on his phone, almost smiling, like this is what he wanted to happen. After a few minutes of yelling about her mother, Mom sat down at the same time that Dad stood up. "I'm going to have a few co-workers over tonight in my study. Please do not disturb me at any costs," Dad said as he put his phone in his pocket, pushed away from the table, and left the room. I looked at his dinner plate that was still full and understood that when he said co-workers, he meant another sexual partner that wasn't my mother. About an hour later, dinner was cleaned up and Mom was going to town on her 7th gin and tonic in the past hour. The doorbell rang and I got up to answer it because Mom couldn't be seen by the public in her state. Standing on our doorstep, I saw not only one, not only two, but four scantily clad women wearing clothing only appropriate for where they would end up by helping a married man be unfaithful. I just sighed and pushed the door wide open and without a word directed them to Dad's study for a board meeting. I returned to the living room to see my trashed mother burning photos from her wedding night. I put my head down in shame as I walked towards the cabinet where we kept the copies of the wedding pictures for this exact reason. When Mom gets drunk, she gets emotional, and when she gets emotional, she likes to burn every trace of my dad. Once she tried to burn the couch on the parlor because his jacket was laying on it. I had to explain to the fire marshal that she tripped and the couch shifted a little too close to the fireplace and caught a wild ember when the rest of the room caught on fire. I was only 8. Once I had replaced the wedding pictures in the frames to make everything seem normal again, I began the climb to my bedroom. Before I reached the top stair, I saw my brother saunter out of his room with a duffel bag. I didn't have to ask what was in it. I knew it was almost $10,000 in cash from supplying drugs to our neighbors. He usually deposited his money when the bag was full. It was Monday. As Daniel walked down the stairs past me, I turned to watch him go, and I took the destructive, unstable monstrosity that I called my family and almost passed out with fear. I could hear Dad giggling with the women in his study, and Mom crying while she broke more things, and Daniel leaving with drug money, and I stopped. If I stayed in this house any longer, I could become like any one of them. I sprinted as fast as I could into my room and began packing my things. Anything I could find that I may need was sloppily shoved into a bag. I had my entire room packed into 7 bags in 15 minutes. I gathered my hair up into a bun and put on a coat, hat, scarf, and winter boots to face the cold air. On my way out of the house, I grabbed the keys to my Mercedes that was given to me as a keep quiet gift and all the money in my mom's purse. Not like she would notice its absence. Shoving all the bags into the trunk of my car, I slammed it shut and got into the driver's seat. I could still see the silhouette of my intoxicated mother through the front window as I backed out of the driveway. I began driving to anywhere I could think of that wasn't here, leaving the chaos and stress behind me, ready to start a new life. While I was driving down the interstate, I knew I would see my parents and my brother on the local news tomorrow, making up some sob story about how much they miss me and want me home safely. Even though no one else could see through their lies, I would know that every word was just for their image.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Wonderful job. Really appreciate it. All right, everyone. Well, I thought we could have like a brief Q&A session. So all the writers are going to turn their cameras on, and you can ask questions of the whole group or of just an individual writer. You can type out your question in the Q&A, or if you raise your hand, Anna, our tech guru, will unmute you at some point. But I thought I'd just start things off. Maybe just ask all the writers, what are some of your biggest influences? Is it a book, an author, a teacher, or something else? And maybe we could just maybe even go in the same order that you read. And I'm sorry, Marwa, to put you on the spot like that. If you wouldn't mind going first. And you're muted, Marwa, by the way.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. What are some of your biggest influences on your writing?
So this particular piece, it was influenced by my father, actually. Ever since I was a little kid, in the early morning, because that's when our morning prayer is, it's around like 5-6 o'clock. It's 5-6 a.m. So in the early morning, after we finished praying, he would sit us down and he'd basically like give us Islamic knowledge and tell us stories and stuff. And the particular day that I wrote it, he told us the story of one of our prophets, and I was feeling inspired and all. And I prior to that, I had just been a bit lost on what I was doing, so it kind of was a way for me to reconnect with my religion more. So yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course.
Okay, so Safa, would you mind answering as well?
Yeah, of course. those two poems were written, the ones I just read today were written specifically about quarantine. I wrote them like, I can't tell you when I wrote them because time is an illusion and I cannot differentiate the months. But I wrote them probably in the early middle stages of quarantine. But other than that, I would say in general, my writing is mostly inspired by like emotions and like the people around me. I can write a mean love poem and that's like all that matters. So that's like really it.
That's great. I think we could all use a mean love poem. I love that. Okay, great. Mohammed?
Some of my greatest influences, I would say, are my uncle, who actually a lot of people say look like me. And so he's just one of the most amazing people I've ever met. And he's like extremely generous. Other than that, for this specific poem that I wrote, I would say my influence would be Joyner Lucas. His new album called ADHD came out, and he discussed what it felt like having ADHD in his album. And so I thought I would write a poem talking about the struggles that I also faced throughout my life with ADHD.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, it really struck us, when we saw that poem. I really appreciated that. Okay, thanks. Maya?
This story in particular didn't have any direct influences. I don't really remember when I wrote it. Probably, I want to say late 2019, but I could be wrong about that. I just at the time had started to really like the concept of kind of time moving in its own way in certain places and how that would affect the people there. And that's kind of what influenced the story in particular, especially with just kind of the atmosphere of the Southwest Desert and stuff. Overall, I take a lot of inspiration just from what I read. I think my writing is just kind of evolved as I've evolved as a reader, as I've gotten older. So I think I really just have books mostly. Thank for that.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Okay, Jonathan?
Do I speak up on like what influenced me? Or like I talk about my poem or
You can just speak in general, like your general influences on your writing. That's possible.
When it comes to this poem, I would say like I knew that I had to draft something in with my poem. I thought of like my poem basically about like me. It's about the mirror, like you talking about like yourself, like you're your own enemy and stuff, like uplifting yourself and believing in yourself and everything. When it comes to what influences me like as a like author, I don't have nobody specifically, but like I would say like my mom is a good writer herself, and like besides this poem, when it comes to just me writing, like within my novel and everything, I would say different books that I read in the past, I would get like I'll get some good like blueprints on how to write and construct it. Even through my writing classes, like through high school, and watching movies and dialogue and stuff like helps me like think of something like that. So that's what I would say.
Okay, thank you. And then I noted in the Q&A that Liz Brommelsick had wanted to ask you maybe if you could describe a little bit about the novel that you're working on. Oh, you're muted, Jonathan.
It's actually very, I feel like it's a very realistic story. It's about a kid in Southside Chicago, and he's trying to make it through, make it through what's going on there with like gang violence and drugs and stuff and everything. And he wants to make it big with music. And he also and he goes through a lot of things with like his like with death and stuff. And the dialogue is very good, and like the way it plays out is very well. I feel like it's very easy to imagine what's going on, imagine the character developments and stuff, and imagine the characters. I do a very good job of describing them and everything. I kind of look at it as like a movie and everything, but whenever I write, I kind of imagine everything happening. So yeah, it's about a story about, you know, him trying, the main character trying to make it through, and it's a lot of stuff going on within his life and ends up happening. Yeah, that's what it's mostly about.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Jonathan. We'll go to Rachel now. Rachel, just influences on your writing?
This story itself was obviously fiction, but traditionally I like to take things from like either things that have happened to me in real life or things that I've seen happen or heard about happening and making them into stories. That's basically what I do.
Yeah, and I think in the Q&A, Lily had asked in particular, for, I guess, to you and Maya, like, you know, what advice do you have for short story writers? Like, where do you get your inspiration for, I guess, just any kind of story writing advice that you might offer might be?
I would say just trust your natural instinct while you're writing. Don't just write your story the way you want to write it at first, and then you can go back and go through it and delete paragraphs if you want, because it's your story and no one else can tell you to not put something or to put something because it's what you want.
Yeah, just kind of to bounce off what Rachel said, absolutely write for yourself. Because you're never going to be able to please everybody that reads what you write. It's never going to be something that every single person that reads it is going to like. And so if you're not writing it for yourself, you're not going to be as happy with it as you would be otherwise. And definitely try and just silence your internal editor, I think is the best way I've heard it phrased. Because if you're going back to like edit lines as you're writing it, you're never going to finish.
Okay, great. And that was really good advice. And Jim Kleiss in the Q&A actually has a question in the same vein. Like, do you write mostly for yourself, or do you think about an audience when you write? And I'll just open this up to anybody who might want to respond to that.
As I said when I was like talking about my inspiration for my piece, I don't write often, like not as much as I did last year or maybe the year before, but I usually write when I'm like feeling some type of strong emotion, like if I'm extremely sad or angry or lost. It really helps me like sort out my emotions and sort out like my confusion and where I want to go with something. And I just think it's like advice for yourself, but in metaphors.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's what it's like for me.
I like that, advice for yourself. Yeah. Thank you. Anybody else? Any thought on audience or just writing for self, Safa?
Yeah. I feel like Kleis already knows this because he knows me, but I write 1000% fully for attention. That is the only reason. I love attention of all variations. It makes me feel very nice. But I would also say that I kind of like, I do use writing as an outlet. I don't think I would know who I am if I didn't write. But I would say that most of my writing is for attention. And, you know, I used to think that was a bad thing. And I had like several crises about it in the past like 2 years. But I think that it boils down to there is no wrong reason to write as long as you are creating and you are creating something that is authentic to you. That's art. That's good enough. You can, as who cares? Who cares? Like, it's great. Be an attention seeker. It's really fun. I encourage it for everyone.
All right. Thank you, Safa. You've got my attention, I have to say. There is another great question that just popped up in the Q&A from Caitlin Costello, one of our grad students, who just said, thank you all for reading. Muhammad brought up Joyner Lucas as a musician he related to. Does music help the rest of you write? What musicians or artists help you create the vibe in your writing? Jonathan, do you want to say something?
I would say music definitely. When it comes to poems and when it comes to poems, it definitely has influence on me because I'm a huge music guy. I love the lyrics of songs and R&B and rap and everything. So I would say I look up. I look when it comes to lyrics. I would say the artist for me will be somebody. It would be somebody like Drake because he brings out passion and relatable feelings when it comes to as men from their perspective of relationships and everything, and even his own life. And then when it comes to more technical with the writing scheme, when it comes to metaphors, Eminem is definitely the best ever. So that's I would say as a writer.
Okay, thanks so much, Jonathan. Anybody?
I would like to add on to my answer from before. And honestly, for me, whenever I write poems, I listen to music just to get me in the groove. And a lot of the times, I'm listening to artists like Melanie Martinez or Billie Eilish who talk about issues in their songs, like real life issues that are going on in the world. And my favorite artist, Ariana Grande. And so, I really like those artists that help me bring my emotions into writing and on paper. It really helps.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. I think Safa might have something to say, but she was.
Oh, no, I'm just reminding everyone, Positions Deluxe dropped by Ariana Grande like yesterday, I believe. No, today. It dropped today, so go stream it. It is so good. She ate it up. She left no crumbs. Just
All right. Well, I think that maybe I'll encourage the writers to just check out the Q&A. There's some really lovely comments. And then I noticed there's a lot of chatting going on as well, which I haven't opened up yet. But I'll just say you all did a wonderful job tonight. I just wish we could be at DePaul in a ballroom with a lot of snacks. But I hope I get a chance to meet you all at some point. And I know we'll continue to promote the Blue Book and kind of get the word out so that people, a bigger audience can see your work. But two, please share it on social media. Again, I'll just encourage the participants or the attendees just to check out DePaul'sBlueBook.com so you can take a look at all of the work there. Yeah, thanks so much. It's been a real pleasure meeting you and getting to know your work and hearing from you. So thanks to everyone who attended, and obviously for the writers and readers. I think that's it. Anybody else? I think that's good. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And thank you to Anna Gerwig for running the launch tonight. I really appreciate your work. All right. Goodbye, everyone. I wish it were longer.
Bye.
Okay, bye.